Thank you now for bringing additional expertise to all this.
My background is varied. I started out as a scientist. I went to school. I majored in molecular cellular biology and biochemistry. And I decided after a couple of years there, I'm like, I really want to just go and work for a while and really figure out what I'm going to do for focus. I'm going to spend time doing a PhD. But I will say to students who are younger, I went to school in a work study program. I was a Pell Grant kid. I tell people networking isn't just going to a specific networking event to talk to other people like you. It is literally the people you meet in any type of social setting, whether it's you go to a siblings game or a friend's game or a show, in the random conversations you have with people. That could be where you get your next job or your next avenue to your next job. So I would say social interaction is really important. You never know who you're going to meet, who's going to do something wonderful for you. So just every opportunity is an opportunity to connect, on a human level, but you never know when that's going to end up being a professional level.
I completely agree. The informal networking, just having conversations with folks that you just never know. How do you capture that in a resume?
First thing is when you look at a resume, it's your first impression this person's going to have looking at you. And a lot of times it's not the hiring manager. It's someone like me who sifts through things to look for stuff and then sends them on accordingly. It's all about the presentation. It needs to be crisp. It needs to be one page. Even for the senior people, it's one page. But your name should pop out, contact information clearly visible in the front. And then even when you're listing things like in categories and courses, I like everything to see everything lined up. Everything starts on this page. And if you're listing skills and you have 3 columns, they should all line up. And then all the dates on the right-hand side should all line up. And I'll send you that because if not, rightly or wrongly, I look at it like, this person's disorganized. They couldn't pay attention to enough detail to get their CV straight, which is the first impression I'm going to have of them. You have to fill in gaps. And you're giving these people a first impression of, yes, they've taken some science classes. They may be going to their sophomore and junior year, but we know they have lab-based classes. And then for listing techniques, I know it doesn't seem like a big deal, but do you know how to pipette? Pipetting is a skill. Do you know how to make dilutions? Dilutions is a skill. So as I went through with my daughter, she's like, I used a microscope and how do you list it as a skill? The expectation going into an internship is not that for the right company, it's not that you're going to walk right into that lab and be a full-time employee. It's meant to be an education on both ends. And that's how I look at it. And if you're interviewing for something, make sure you make that clear. It gives someone an insight into you. And I like to see people put some of their interests, reading, hiking, extracurricular activities, list all of those things that you participate in to show that you're a well-rounded human being. And whether it's an interest in reading or you play an instrument or you are a singer, because I'm going to spend a lot of time with this person. I want to like them as a human. So it's really about giving a little bit of insight into your personality because it is a piece of paper. The organization, the crispness, the clearness, and then that one little catch of the bottom of who I am as a human being.
It's very important to capture all that. Obviously, typos need to be fixed.
Typos. And I recommend someone else look at your CV when you've done it because I know myself. Have someone take a look at it. And then there is a feature in Word. You can click on that and it shows you where all the extra spaces are. It'll show you a lot of formatting errors that come up just in how it's presented. But it is important. It is important to have someone else just get a quick glance at it.
Who do you recommend? I mean, looks like you're taking a look at your daughter's resume. Are there other people that you have felt are really good at helping? Because it's vulnerable, right? Like you're putting yourself out there. You want somebody you can trust to give you good feedback.
Any other person to look at it to make sure that you don't have mistakes in it. So for content, a professor, a teacher, quite honestly, you can send me CVs. I look at them all the time for people in UCB, people outside of UCB, my daughter's friends. I have no problem looking at a resume and giving feedback.
I think a lot of students, especially early on, feel like they don't have enough to put a resume together, right? They don't have 20 years of experience and things like that. So what would you recommend to students who feel like their resume is slight?
That's why I think it's important to list all the courses. And Chem 1, Chemistry 2, WITS Lab, organic chemistry, biochemistry, biology. It at least shows the person looking at your CV that I am definitely on a science track. And that's why it's important to list the skills. I can just tell you, like on this one, aseptic technique. If you've been in a basic lab, you've been taught aseptic technique. Is someone going to expect you to be an expert in those? No. But at least you're familiar. There's a baseline of, even if you're not completely proficient in the technique, there's a basic level of understanding of what that technique means. Younger students, we're going to mentor you, you're going to coach you, you're going to learn more in this first 2 years in your job than you did in the whole 4 years of college, no matter how much money your parents spent. That's just the reality, right? Depending on the role, especially in a biotech company, I expect them to spend 50% of their time outside of their comfort zone. I think anyone that still wants to continue to grow and learn in their career should at least expect 20% of their time to be outside of their comfort zone. Those are the questions you get in an interview. What's the culture like? What are the expectations? Hopefully people are thorough. They can be really thorough and they can answer all your regular questions. Ask them what their favorite part of the job is. What makes them excited to come to work every day? That shows you're engaged, not just from a check the box, this is the internship I'm looking at. It's really trying to get at what the work environment's like. So here's my thing. So I think it's important to show that you've taken responsibility to go outside. And if you haven't had the work, you've been an opportunity not to do that, if they have volunteer experience, it shows that you've taken some initiative to be just other than a high school student or a college student. But I've looked at tens of thousands of CVs, but I'm one person, right? So I look at something, I want organization, I want Christmas, I want to see that, it's pleasing to the eye. And then I want to see some kind of a human touch because I know I'm going to be working with them. It's what makes you stand out from one person to the other. I like it to be humble because if you come across too strong, people can take that the wrong way too. Like, oh, great. I don't know if this person might be a handful. I don't know if I want to deal with that.
So I think a lot of students, sometimes I will hear a little bit of frustration at putting so much effort into either personalizing their resumes, writing cover letters, all those things, and then not hearing from the hiring companies one way or the other.
It depends on the company you're hiring at. I don't know how UCB does it. Well, I know how we do it on our end. We interview people. We let them know if another person's been accepted, if they're going to get called back, we call them back or we email them. If a company interviews someone, as a courtesy, they should at least email you back and say another candidate's been chosen.
Right.
And if they don't, and that's again, it's acknowledgement of what that company's like, and it's probably better off not going there.
Yes.
If that's their first impression too, right? I think it doesn't hurt if you haven't gotten any acknowledgement at all, which I'd be surprised, but most companies should have some type of automated thing. It doesn't hurt like a week or two later to follow up. Just like, I'm really interested in the company. I haven't heard back. I understand it's busy. It's a busy time of year, but I'm still interested. You can just do a kind of a touch email like that.
What are your thoughts about cover letters?
I actually don't read cover letters. I cut to the chase and really look at the CV. Now, a cover letter is important if you have a gap in your CV or something. If there's something that would look kind of odd on your CV, then I go to the cover letter. They explain this. I took time off for X number of years. I took a gap year, or, I stayed home with my children for a period of time and I'm re-entering the workforce. That's when I find cover letters the most important. I would keep them succinct again. So I just keep it like a paragraph with, who I am, what I'm interested, and the same thing in that little elevator pitch that you want to put at the top of your CV. It's, here's why I'm interested in your company. Here's why you should be interested in me. It doesn't need to be, I don't want your life story because I won't read it. As your CV builds over time, right? I look at it, it's a story. I usually put education at the top and then keep it relevant, work experience. But as you grow in your career, people are going to be looking at that. How does that story tell? So once you get your first job, hopefully you'll stay there for 2 years, right? And do something, and then a couple of years. But as you get more seasoned, I look for people. If I see jump, I'm like, nope, that person's just not committed for the long haul. Or a gap, like, they don't have times on their CVs. Okay, pretty sure I know what's going on there. It really does tell a story over time. So keep in mind as you progress through your career, everyone has a mistake or a company they went to for a short period of time, or you get in this industry, you can get laid off, right? That happens. But keep in mind that story building where I'm looking at it, I'll look top down, then bottom up and see, okay, have they progressed in their career? Have they moved forward? How many times have they jumped? Is it like a 3 or 4 years and jump, got a promotion, elevated title, fine. But if I see it like every 2 years sustained for a long period of time, I just get nervous. That one won't make it through.
What is your idea about letters of recommendation and adding that to your emails as you apply?
Generally, you put like on the bottom, references furnished upon your request. If it can't hurt though, either they won't look at them or they will look at them. I don't think it's a bad thing. No. You obviously, if you're going to give someone as a reference, they're going to give you a good reference, right? So I know that someone's done reference checks. I like them, and I do reference checks. UCB I don't think does them as much as we did at Raw, because there's certain ways to ask questions to get at the answer I want. Some places are going to have you do a background check, which means they're going to check. They're going to call and check on your dates to make sure that they're accurate, and some places will have you do a drug test. You want to come across to me, competent, confident, not arrogant, and it's a fine line. There's only so much you can say about as a young college student if you haven't had your first internship.
Thank you so much. I know this talk will be very, very useful to others.
Great. So great. And if someone has a question, they really want me to look at something, I can make time to look at it. Okay.
You're very generous. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Take care.
Good luck, Lauren.
Thank you.